white has more reserved tempi. That's right. What did happen in the game? This king maneuver allowed white to grab space with f5 and h5, and because of that provided white with extra tempi, as well as made these pawns closer to the queen in line. What then? So king c3, king c4, king b5. This is the plan. How they can prevent it? They can try to move their king to e4 or e5 and capture the f5 pawn. Fine. King c4, king f5, king b5, and this pawn will be promoted faster, because in order to promote one of the pawns on the queen side, they have to first capture the pawn on g2. And you don't even need to calculate to realize that it takes more tempi than promoting your pawn on the a file. So king a5, king g2, a6, and this is where they only start the f-pawn march. And this is a winning position. It's not even on f2. Even if it was on f2, it was okay, because we have more pawns on the board. Okay, fine. What if they don't move to e5, but for example move back to d6, and for king c4 they prepare king c6? This is where you have to use your reserve tempi. King c7, king b5, king b7. Well, how to play? a5 should be fine, but let's play g3 just. They can play h6, but you play g4. If they make a king move, then you play this. They have to take, otherwise they lose a pawn, and then his king is still in a position. He goes there, you take the a5 pawn, and the enemy king will be distracted to the b pawn, while you invade the king side. Well, just for those of you who are not familiar with such in games, so why do I always say that this is a winning position and how you should play there? Just one example will be illustrated to the very end. So here, let's say they don't allow us to invade the enemy camp. No, now they do. Okay, let's say he plays this move. If so, we can play king c6 and easily promote the pawn. So this king should be distracted to the b pawn, allowing us to invade the enemy camp and capture, if not all pawns, then all necessary pawns to let our pawns get promoted. So once again, let's summarize what happened in the game. Extra space allowed this king to go to e4. However, first white fights for the open file, and here only one file is open, it's the d file. We don't invade the enemy camp, which is usually a good move, because we'd better provide our king maneuver more priority, because the king in the center will defend the pawn on e5, there will be no f6. f6 was played, but with rook d6 we provoke a trade, and this time we took with a pawn. Having the rook on the 7th rank limits the enemy king and allows us to invade the enemy territory. So d7, and the pawn becomes poisoned. Every time black takes it, it's a losing position, because our king can get to d5, which means that it's already in the enemy territory, and enemy pawns are more vulnerable, as well as we have more reserved tempi to force the enemy king into zugzwang and leave a position and let us invade the enemy camp. So then later we advanced our pawn further to f5 and h5, and that provided us with extra space and more reserve tempi to chase the enemy king away from our position.